Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Geoguessr Explained, and I'm finally bringing it back. Geoguessr Explained is back. Not sure for how long, but I'm going to try and do it daily for a while again, see what the reception is like, see if you guys are enjoying it. So basically, it's a play along. There'll be links in the description that you can play before watching, or if you don't want to, just watch along. And yeah, I'm going to explain all my guesses so that you guys can make some good guesses. We'll do one no moving, one NMPZ. I'll make it a challenge link. Excellent. And yeah, let's get into things here. Copy the link right now, and let's start. So I'll probably just take like a minute on each round, explain why I think it is where it is. Immediately here, this is going to be Taiwan, but we're going to look around and see if we can get any closer than that, and any closer than just clicking the middle. So yeah, first things first here, we got the white outer lines, very common in Taiwan. This wall made of like concrete, I would say that would be very common in East Asia, for example, Taiwan, Japan, Korea, that kind of thing. We'll have like drains in it like this, fairly mossy because it's quite humid in Taiwan. Taiwan has these round concrete poles, which are very similar to a number of other countries, but you'll see these dots with the kind of square around them, and that should only be Taiwan. Just trying to think. Maybe like Cambodia has some similar poles with like dots with squares around them, but the two countries don't look anything alike, so that should be okay. And then, of course, we have the diagonal striped lines, which are only Taiwan. Diagonal stripes also in Korea, but they don't look similar, and they don't go all the way down to the ground. Taiwan also has very tall number plates, and they're short and tall, so that's another good way, similar to Japanese ones. We've got like a sticker here on this pole, which I would associate. Oh, we're recording? We are. Nice. Which I would associate with, like, I think it's a southern Taiwan meta, but I could be wrong about that. We also see a bunch of areca palm trees here. They're kind of small palm trees. Also something common in the south, but yeah, these ones here. They're common in the south, but you can see them everywhere. So I think I would go southern Japan here. I mean, southern Taiwan here. We're in the hills, so you're probably just clicking, like, around here. I mean, there's not actually that much settlement inside the hills around here, so a bit of a risky guess, maybe. Yeah, I don't know, but in general, most people don't live inside the hills in Taiwan. I'll go southern, but a bit more up here, I think, actually. Yeah, that works better. I mean, there wasn't many options down here. You can see, like, the population kind of stops before the hills, so it made sense to go a bit further north. Okay. Next one here. Yellow center line, so immediately ruling out most of Europe here. A bunch of pine trees. They almost look like Scots pines here with the kind of reddish bark. Guardrail doesn't really tell me anything here. I can immediately tell that this is South Korea. And I think the big reason is here, well, single yellow line, so we also know it's not US. That would be very uncommon in the US. Also, the red tinged trunk on the pine tree would also not be US or Canada. And, I mean, the Generation 3 coverage with the black car, snow coverage here, just feels very Korean to me. But it's kind of hard to explain why beyond that. Just the trees, plus the hilly terrain and the winter coverage and all that. But yeah, we're clearly driving right-hand side of the road. We can tell this is the back of the Google car because of the brake light here. So yeah, clearly we're driving right, which is obviously not the case in Japan. We got language here as well with the circles, so we know it's Korean. Snow coverage tends to lean you further north, but Korea's like my weakest country, so we're just gonna guess here. Yeah, not. I couldn't claim to get that right most times, but next one here is a country I do know more about. This is Australia. So double white line is very common in Australia. You will see the single white line as well, but not in New South Wales. New South Wales will always have the double white, but you can see the double white everywhere, if you know. It's one of those kind of metas. We've got the white Google car here. As for the white car's kind of complicated. It's very common on the east coast, I would say, Victoria, New South Wales, Queensland, South Australia. Doesn't really exist in Western Australia. Very uncommon in Tasmania, so that's good to know. Poles here are wooden, so we know it's not South Australia because they would use the Stobie poles. These are the kind of internet power line things that you see in Australia. So they would be orange in US, but we have yellow ones here. Green thing on the pole probably doesn't tell me much. Maybe New South Wales kind of reminds me of something you might see in New South Wales. Kind of a whole variety of pole markings you see in New South Wales. These pole tops here, trident pole tops, very common in Victoria and Western Australia. So Yeah, the question is it New South Wales or Victoria? Because I'm kind of getting some mixed signals here. I think the landscape looks a bit more New South Wales to me. But this is definitely a vibes kind of round. I don't think there's anything too concrete to point to here that would say one way or the other. But, you know, the east coast of Australia is very green in comparison to the rest of the country, so it's definitely gettable, just that part of the country at least, you know what I mean? Can we get anything here? I think it looks like New South Wales, and I don't really think I can tell you too much why, other than the fact that it's hilly, it's pretty lush. It almost feels a bit subtropical, but not quite. So I definitely don't think it's Queensland, because we'd see more like tropical vegetation, but yeah. Not too sure here. Could still be Melbourne area. I think I'll just go for this. And it was a bit further south. That's why I kind of felt like between the two cities, I guess. Just on the old highway near Narooma. Yeah, makes sense. Probably the green little thing is common down here, but I can't remember. I should actually learn this. Next one here. So it's very narrow road here, which reminds me of Europe, especially the fact that it doesn't have any like dividers or anything. It's very rocky, which is common in some parts of Europe more than others. For example, the Nordics tend to be quite rocky. But this looks pretty warm. It reminds me more of also the kind of road being very pale. It reminds me more of like Austria, Slovenia. So let's have a look around. We do have some Slavic language here with the versnik, so that will be Slavic. And then if you look here, we've got the black topped bollards, which are Slovenia, Austria, Montenegro, Balkans. And yeah, well, obviously with the language, I would lean Slovenia here, especially because Montenegro does not have the updated Generation 4 coverage yet. So yeah, we've got like Alps architecture here as well. It's very big mountains. Like when I see especially big mountains in Slovenia, I'm thinking northwest, near Bled, that kind of area here. We're in a valley, so yeah, definitely not like out towards Patui where it's flatter, or out here where it has a kind of Koper, has kind of a Mediterranean vibe. Definitely fully Alps here, so I would probably lean northwest, but it could also be northeast as well. Let's go here, and yeah, it was just north central, I guess. Not too bad. And the final round here, looking like we're going to be in Africa. You can see African people. That's a pretty good way to get Africa if you're very new. Otherwise, we got this white Google car here, which is in Africa, exclusive to Rwanda. Now, let me think. Without any, if you don't have any of the rubber attachments inside the top of the car. I'm just trying to think. Can you see it? I mean, like this car specifically is Rwanda, but you can also see the white big truck in Kenya. So, and I guess Nigeria too. So yeah, you got to be somewhat careful. We're driving right, so Kenya drives left, so that's a good way of distinguishing the two. Everything like through this way drives left, but Rwanda next to Uganda and Kenya, but drives right. It's very hilly country. You'll see a lot of eucalyptus trees, like Australian-style trees there. You'll see a single yellow line in Rwanda. The roads are very good. It's also a very clean country, which can actually help you distinguish it from Kenya on some occasions, I would say. You get a mix of French and English and Swahili, I guess, but that's not too useful here. They do have quite a lot of fancy lamps like this, I've noticed in Rwanda as well. But yeah, this is very typical Rwanda. I'm not sure where exactly. 2024. Yeah, just probably going to click north of the capital here, I think. And it was just south. Not too bad there, 23,700. Yeah, not too bad. And then we'll head back and do an NMPZ, my favorite game mode, of course. And there's probably less to explain, but it's also more subtle. So hopefully we come across some interesting rounds in this 5. Well, I'll see about that. Next one here. Okay, so immediately a difficult round. Let's get into things here. So it almost looks like it's a concrete road. The way we have like a break in the road makes it look a bit concrete. Concrete roads in Europe, obviously, again, we have this very thin road. Immediately thinking Europe here. Trees and everything also look good. So with a concrete road in Europe, I would lean Belgium. However, this is... Firstly, the hill here is way too big for Belgium. Belgium does get hilly, but not like this. It's also too dry and rocky for Belgium, so we have to consider more southern Europe here. And then the concrete road stops really helping. I'm not really sure what to make of that. The soil here is very dark, which I think is probably one of the bigger clues for this location. But dark soil can appear kind of in patches around Europe. It's definitely indicative of the south of Europe, I would say. But you know, Ukraine, Russia can have very dark soil. I mean, you can get it in different patches around the place, so wouldn't rely on it too much. Looks very fertile. Trees are kind of short here. Again, Mediterranean kind of vibe. I think Italy is the best country here. I'm thinking Sicily or southern Italy somewhere, though I'm not sure. Sicily also, you like around Mount Etna, you'll get very dark soil, so that could also be kind of influenced by that in a way here. I can see it. Sardinia, I also see as possible here. The house unfortunately doesn't give us much. I think if we're wrong, it's probably Greece. And if we're wrong about those both, then probably Spain, Portugal. But can't really be Balkan because of the Generation 2 camera, and I definitely like Italy the most here. So let's go for it here. And it was Sicily. Sicily's very hilly, darker soil, and it will look a bit warmer, but that was winter coverage, so it felt a bit cold, but yeah, I mean, it's a place you have to get a vibe for sure. Next one here, more Europe would be my instinct here. We have a lot of corn. This is corn on the left-hand side here. I could definitely see someone going US here, and I would understand that guess, especially with the corn. But you got to consider we're on a very thin road with no road markings, which would just be very strange for the US. In addition to that, we can assume that we're driving on the right-hand side of the road here. I would just say that's a reasonable assumption. The only possible countries here for left-hand drift would be UK, Ireland. And they don't really grow much corn, neither of them. And so if we assume we're driving right, then we would see the front of the Google car in Generation 4 United States, Canada. Most of the time. And we would see the back of the car in Europe. And we don't see the back of the car here, which means we're probably looking away from the back of the car, which means we're probably in Europe on a right-hand drive country. That would be my inference from the lack of any Google car visible. Kind of complicated, I know, but, you know, just part of the actual thought process here that's important for NMPZ. We have no fence also in front of these fields, which I would say paddocks in the US would normally have that. So yeah, that would also be helpful here. The road is very textural. That's something I associate with France a lot. And I could see France being possible here, but these very long barns in the background don't really look like French architecture. Instead, I was thinking Denmark here. Denmark has a very flat, slightly rolling landscape like this, and it will have this kind of road quite commonly like France. But really, these long barns are super Danish. So I'm thinking Jutland here, maybe Zeeland or Fyn. But yeah, I'm going to go for that. And it was Jutland. So yeah, that is pretty much just combining a few factors there. But pretty difficult round so far in the NMPZ. Next one here, short dashes on the outside of the road. So normally you would have long dashes if you're in Norway, short dashes if you're in Sweden. With a big red barn here, that's pretty much the two main countries you consider. Finland too, I guess. But yeah, with the big red barn and the short dashes will be Sweden. You will also get the short dashes in Gotland, in Åland Islands, so careful for that, which are part of Finland. With the extremely red road here, you guys know I love red roads. With the extremely red road like this one, you should be considering Dalarna County, which is the one here. I think Mora is Dalarna County, yep. So that's where the most red roads are. It's also pretty hilly, so that's also fitting nicely for what we've got going on here. But red roads can be seen anywhere in Sweden and are very rare in Finland, Norway, Denmark. It's just a Swedish thing for whatever reason. Okay, so yeah, I think I would be happy with this send. If anything, probably a little further south than this if we're wrong, I would say. So maybe I'll go Vansbro. But yeah, I don't know, it's pretty hilly as well. Like hills in Sweden tend to be either near the Norwegian border or on the Sweden label. It actually gets very hilly around where it says Sweden. But let's guess. And it was actually, yeah, more towards the Sweden label. Doesn't really surprise me there. There are definitely less red roads over here than over here. But the landscape does make more sense probably. So not terrible. Next one here. Okay, so we've got round concrete poles, and we've got a bunch of houses here. Round concrete poles, it's like the standard pole of the world, I would say. You can find them anywhere. But with the white road lines and these houses, we know we're in Europe. That's fairly self-explanatory. I don't think anyone's guessing anywhere else here. And we can see like the house number here, very European looking as well. Now, countries like Austria won't use these round concrete poles nearly as much as their neighbors, Slovenia and Croatia. And that is what I was thinking of with houses that look like this. And I don't know. What it is definitely a vibes thing here for sure. One thing I'm noticing is that the length and angle of this lamp is very Croatian. Also, these white road lines are fairly thick, which is also something I see a lot in Croatia, thick road lines. So I am thinking of Croatia here. What's the copyright? Copyright's 2022. I won't mention copyright too much in these videos, but 2022 is really common in Croatia, so that's a good way of like a little confirmation that it could be there. Yeah, it's fairly flat, but somewhat hilly, which is also good for that kind of northern part of Croatia that looks like this. We've also got things on the roof for snow, like the little bumps in the roof that you have in case it snows. Look, I'm Australian, I don't really understand why they're there, but yeah, they they would also check out for Croatia. But I think really like the road lines, this lamp, plus the architecture makes me, plus copyright, plus like the little ditches on the side of the road, feels quite Eastern European, something you see quite a lot in like Romania, Hungary. But yeah, it all makes me feel pretty good, combined with the round concrete pole that we'd be in Croatia here. And it was right on the border with Slovenia. Yeah, it was very green, and maybe, you know, the roof would point to the fact it gets a bit of snow, but definitely a good guess. And the final one here, and this one will be an easy Germany. So again, white road lines, bike lane, a lot of European-looking infrastructure here. We've got white street signs. Street signs, for example, in like Netherlands will normally be blue, I think. So that's a good one. Pretty common in Germany that they're just going to be white. And we also have these bollards. Now, the orange on the bollard is interesting because you only get those on intersections in Germany. So normal bollards would just be white with the reflector, but if you see the orange, obviously that's also common in like Lithuania, but if it's on an intersection, then it would just be the German version. And what else can we say here? It is very flat with a bike lane, so that makes me think we're near the Netherlands here, honestly. The back of German signs are often kind of this grey color, and the tip of the signpost will often be black like that. Something you also commonly see in Czechia and Central Europe in general, I would say. But definitely nice to identify Germany and Czechia often. Germany is more hilly in the south than the north, but it is definitely a vibes thing here. It looks quite like the Netherlands. It is extremely flat with a bike lane. I would think guessing near Münster here is probably about the kind of thing you want to do. Corn as well. Trees don't look eastern. You get like many more pines out towards Berlin. You can see it's quite forested in Brandenburg state. So yeah, I'm gonna go here. And yes, it was on the Dutch border, just a bit further up there. So 23-7 again. Same score as last time, actually. And there we go. All 10 countries today. Let me know how you did. I think this seed was actually pretty tough as they come. It was actually 100% Europe. That's kind of fascinating. Yeah, that is actually pretty rare, I gotta say. And they're all like within the same latitude. This gotta be like a top 1% seed in terms of longitude. Yeah, not latitude, longitude consistency. That's kind of insane. But that's about it for the video. I hope you all enjoyed. If you want to see more of these, you know what to do. Run it up. Let me know in the comments, etc. And yeah, I will get back to you guys soon with another episode just like this. Hope you all enjoyed it, and goodbye.